Bambi stood in front of the bathroom mirror in her beautiful modern condo on the edge of Buckhead. Even though she had black circles under her eyes and a pale complexion compared to the colorful robe she had put on hours earlier, she had work to do, calls to return, brand deals to approve, and a thick, unseen hand pushing down on her. Like all afternoons in Atlanta, this one began. The throbbing behind her temples came and went like waves, and she had to push herself to ignore the dull aching in her back that had been there for days because the video shoot was scheduled for later that night. She hadn't really glanced at her assistant's phone in weeks, but it was beeping constantly on the counter, reminding her of missed calls and texts. Bambi had been running on fumes, balancing the schedules of her children and filming parts for the show. While juggling multiple business ventures, she had been sleeping for no more than 4 hours every night, and meals had been replaced with protein bars and energy drinks. Even if she stayed still, her mind would not stop racing. Her marriage, the intense scrutiny she faced online, and her declining tolerance for people she had trusted were all on her mind. When she leaned down to retrieve her bag that morning, her body gave her one more warning, and a searing pain ripped through her. After a few hours, no one realized anything was amiss until her assistant arrived, concerned that Bambi had missed the shoot and was not answering her phone. Her stomach darkened like a tide instantly, and she collapsed face down on the hallway's hardwood floor. Paramedics arrived quickly, stabilized her vitals, and transported her to the nearest hospital. Extremely low blood pressure, severe dehydration, and early signs of indications of extreme fatigue. Bambi had not eaten well for days, had not hydrated, and was under a lot of psychological stress, according to the doctor's suspicions. Silent and immaculate, the hospital room was filled with softly buzzing machinery. With an IV hanging from her arm, Bambi was dozing off. Nurses arrived and left, changing her pillows and monitoring her vital signs. The word quickly got out, especially among the actors and crew who had just wrapped up the previous day's filming. When his cousin called, Scrappy was in the middle of a violent argument with his manager regarding the release of his next EP when he received the news. Scrappy was frozen in place for 10 seconds after he had just finished speaking when he dropped his phone in a panic. His heart was racing, and he kept playing over their previous conversation. They hadn't spoken in 2 days, in his head. He didn't ask any questions, he didn't hesitate. He just grabbed his keys and he left the studio. Were exchanged, but they had not communicated, and their previous conflicts about parenting had devolved into routine disputes about her job taking precedence over her family's time. Everything seemed surreal now that she was in a hospital bed, and he felt misunderstood when she accused him of not being emotionally there. It smelled too strong, like an antiseptic, and the fluorescent lights above her were too bright. As Scrappy moved down the hallway, his footfall resonating off the polished flooring, the weight of doubt bearing down on him like a mountain, he felt an odd chill creep up his spine. He had a hard time focusing because the waiting room was so silent. Something altered inside him because she was so motionless. Strong, elegant, confident, and tough from birth, Bambi concealed herself from others, even during her darkest moments. She looked fragile now that she was broken. Her figure mirrored that of the vivacious woman he remembered from just a week before. She remained still, breathing deliberately in small bursts, her chest rising and falling while the monitors beside her bed blinked constantly. As he processed the truth he never thought he would see, Scrappy stayed silent and tearless, just looking at her. He felt guilty right away in spite of all the warning indications, her constant fatigue, the irritation in her voice. And when her mother arrived, her eyes red and her voice trembling, the hospital room became a rotating door. His own worry had been his main focus. Erica had an inexplicable expression on her face and was carrying a bag of toiletries. The producers of the show contacted her, hoping she would say anything, or maybe even that someone on the camera would stop it all. No cameras, no assertions. There are no distractions for the first time in a long time. In the chair by her bed, Scrappy laid his palm on hers as the sun sank and the sky turned a dark gray, eliciting sudden outbursts of laughing. He was what people believed he was, and his only concern was Bambi waking up. Road excursions and family. Vacations, but also more depressing recollections of yelling fights the doors close. Therapies that are quiet, which went on for days. He began to question what went wrong. Had they been too consumed by self-aggrandizement and celebrity? Had the outside world infiltrated and destroyed their possessions? If Bambi lived, Scrappy was sure he would be a better partner, father, listener, and man by midnight, even though he didn't know the answers. There was a little flicker of the eyes and a twitch of the body when Bambi moved for the first time. Bambi seemed bewildered when her eyes finally opened completely. Slowly, her eyes swept the room before settling on Scrappy. Confusion followed by recognition, and then there was a glimpse of something unintelligible. Her voice was weak and dry as she tried to speak. With a whisper that no one else could hear, Scrappy drew closer, but that was sufficient. The nurse rushed in after noticing it. The following day, the physicians expressed unequivocally that Bambi had barely escaped a more severe collapse, and that she would need rest, real rest, as well as emotional and physical rehabilitation. For once, he put her, their family, and making things right before it was too late in his mind. Scrappy took it personally, and the afternoon began like any other in Atlanta. To aid with her recovery, he began making calls, rescheduling appointments, arranging a special health team, and altering schedules. This time, it might not be reversible, so she was warned to slow down. The streets were bustling with activity, and traffic was moving in steady waves, but inside her sleek, modern condo on the outskirts of Buckhead, the heat felt like a thick, invisible hand. Bambi stood before the mirror in the bathroom, her shoulders stiff with exhaustion. She had business to attend to, including a video shoot later that day and calls to complete return brand deals. And her skin was pale in comparison to the vibrant robe she had put on hours before. As she pushed through the fatigue, she ignored the dull aching that had set in days ago and the pounding that came and went like waves behind her temples. Her phone, which she had scarcely checked in weeks, was constantly buzzing on the counter, reminding her of missed calls and texts from her assistant. Managing multiple business ventures, filming sequences for the show, and balancing her children's schedules had kept Bambi busy for weeks. Meals were replaced with protein bars and energy drinks because she was only getting 4 hours of sleep every night. No matter how motionless she sat, her mind continued to race. She continued to worry about her marriage, the ongoing scrutiny she received online, and her declining patience with people she used to trust.